Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and I have got an overlooked but awesome card for you. I just have to make the assumption that this card is overlooked because it's like 50 cents. I mean, yeah, it's a common, but it was only printed once, and it's about as powerful as a card that I happen to know costs a lot more. Now that said, this card is powerful. Now it is only legal in Commander Vintage and Legacy, and it is a little bit situational, but it's an instant that costs 1, and it's absolutely astonishing. It's basically a watered down version of one of the most popular, powerful, amazing, unbelievably unfair cards printed in the game's history. So for this to fly under some people's radar is insane. Now, some of you have probably heard of this though. Coming in from the Ice Age set, we've got Songs of the Damned. Now it's a 1-cost black interrupt, or as I like to call it, instant. And this one's real simple. Add 1 black mana to your mana pool for each creature in your graveyard. So let's throw up Dark Ritual for comparison here, because everybody's heard of Dark Ritual. It's been printed, I think, over 20 times. It was in alpha and beta. It was a famous card. Everybody wanted it, and honestly, some versions of it I think are below like $2, so it's a pretty darn cheap card. Now, Dark Ritual, once again, a 1-cost black, I'll say instant because I don't even want to go down the whole what's a mana source path. You should look it up though. It's really interesting actually what mana source actually meant and how it worked, because it's not at all how you're thinking, and I guess they, I don't know, errated it or changed the rules. But anyway, this video is not about Dark Ritual. It's about the better spell, Songs of the Damned. Okay. Not quite as early as Dark Ritual. You could literally cast Dark Ritual on turn 1 if you dropped a swamp. Songs of the Damned, you gotta have something in your graveyard, but let's say you milled, I don't know, 10 cards or something into the graveyard all of a sudden, and half your deck is creatures. Well, that's enough mana to just about finish off your opponent. I mean, especially if you already had like 4 or 5 swamps in play, or a Cryptcast, or some other ramp. I mean, if you could generate, like, we'll say 5 to 10 mana with this, you could pretty much just win the game with something like Torment of Hallfire, or you could effectively win the game with something like Killing Wave. Well, that or just any manner of like X spells that are in black. So it is really easy to get excited about mana ramp that costs 1, but I don't think that you would have a creature in your graveyard on turn 1. Now that said, you could cast a Walking Ballista and an Endless one for 0. They would die the second that they enter the battlefield and go straight to the graveyard. So you could do like some really weird conditional combo with it if you really wanted to, but it's a lot more of a long shot than Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual is clearly the better card here, but that said, late game, so just ignore the fact that it costs 1, although since it generates mana, it is nice that it costs 1. You could use this to cast something just bonkers, like some 8 or 9 cost spell, like, I don't know, Rise of the Dark Realms or In Garruk's Wake. That, by the way, is one of the best board wipes ever printed in the entire history of the game. Oh, and of course, I mean, if you've got a lot of creatures in the graveyard, duh, Rise of the Dark Realms. So if you've got creatures in your graveyard, I would say that this is probably a better spell to use under most circumstances than even Crype Incursion or Night Howler. I mean, those are darn good cards, but what can you do with that much mana? I mean, like, just think about it. A lot of stuff. And there's actually a ton of different spells that do stuff with, you know, for every creature in your graveyard, or exile every creature in your graveyard, and then do this. And they either cost like quite a bit of mana, or they have like an X in the cost, and you can do all kinds of fun stuff. So this, just based on the fact that you wouldn't be casting it unless you have a lot of creatures in your graveyard, it can just combo with so much stuff. It's just so good. Now, reliable combos, I mean, it's not really what I think of when I think of Commander, but if you've got enough fetch cards, enough, black Diabolic Tutor clones, or, Demonic Tutor, whatever, you'd probably be able to get something off pretty reliably, but I don't know. I mean, the fact that you can't use this in Modern, and then you just got to wait for this to show up, and then you got to wait for another card to use it with, and also hope that a lot of stuff is in your graveyard, you'd almost have to like make it work with like a casual deck that you pre-made, and then make sure that you can sacrifice things to put them directly into the graveyard, and then maybe even bring them back later, or I don't know, just cross your fingers and hope this comes up at an opportune time in Commander. But still, it's such a good card, just had to share it with everybody. Hope you can find some kind of fun deck to put it in, and do all kinds of crazy stuff with that much mana. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.